There are a few massive yards in Canada, especially in Ontario. Every one of these yards has a significantly busy subdivision running in and out of it. At the very tip of the CN Subdivision boasts one of the largest classification yards in Canada, with it being the second largest, just after CN Symington Yard in Winnipeg. It makes the 25-mile York Subdivision the eastern footnote to the massive yard. With the York Subdivision being the only way in and out of this yard for eastern traffic, it's no doubt that it's a railroad superhighway. Prior to the construction of the York Sub, CN traffic ran through the downtown core along the CN Kingston Subdivision and through the Union Station area. During the 1950s, CN developed a plan to move traffic off the main line to the once new MacMillan yard north of the city. Traffic normally passing through downtown was switched on to the two new subdivisions, the Halton Sub connecting the west and the York Sub connecting to the east. Construction of the York Sub took place between 1959 and 1965. The York Sub was built in once farmland but now has little to no room for expansion due to rapid development causing congestion left, right, and center. With everything from intermodal, auto racks to grain cars, this subdivision has it all. Between Pickering Junction on the southern edge of Toronto and the mighty MacMillan Yard in Vaughan, the track slices directly through the busy suburbs across the Greater Toronto Area and the lakefront shores of Lake Ontario. This is the CN York Subdivision. With the subdivision branching off from the Kingston Sub at mile 313 near Pickering GO Transit Station, it crosses over the busy Trans-Canada Highway, better known as the 401, and heads northwest, leaving the inland sea of Lake Ontario behind. Pickering Junction is a busy place, seeing traffic from Via Rail, GO Transit, and CN, which also has a small storage tract behind the station. Built in 1967 and renovated many times ever since, this easily recognizable location due to the impressive pedestrian bridge over the 401 serves as the start of the CN York Sub. Here we see a morning Ottawa to Toronto via train passing through the run-by section of the station. We're at Plug Hat Road at roughly Milepost 7 in the Rouge National Park. Here's Via 64 and 46J together, winding through the curve. Just after that, another westbound CN is next. The single track of the York Sub lasts about 12 miles before heading into double track territory just after McCowan Road. It's not common to see several trains being backed up behind the switch waiting on eastbounds to clear, or trains being held at Pickering Junction just before the bridge that carries the York Sub over the busy 401. After a 30-minute drive through the national park, we head to a very known spot along the line. There are many recognizable spots along the York Sub. One of it, if not the most famous spot, is George's Trains at roughly Milepost 15. This road crossing is a horn crossing, so it's common to receive horn salutes from trains here. A westbound train of auto rack surrounds the curve at Milepost 15 with CN's BC Rail Heritage Unit through the final minutes of sunlight on a chilly evening in May. Less than a kilometer away is the quote-unquote curve of Milepost 15. It's more of Milepost 15.7, but it's close enough. Here's CN 122, a Halifax-bound stacks and racks train from Chicago with a BNSF SD70i behind an SD70 M-2. He returned back to the spot only a few days later to find 122 yen, but this time with the EJ&E Heritage unit on point, and a Canadian Cab -9 trailing behind it. These are just some of the many trains I've seen here. Via rail detours are also something to look out for. Usually about 2 times a year, the tracks on the GO Transit Lakeshore East Line around Rouge Hill are shut down for maintenance. Via rail trains still need to keep people moving along the corridor, so they use the CN York Sub and the Bala Sub as a detour. After heading north up the southern part of the Bala Sub on the GO Transit Richmond Hill line, the train sets are wide at Doncaster Diamond and are cleared to proceed east to Pickering Junction to resume course. Nine kilometers west of the Milepost 15 curve in Thornhill is the Doncaster Diamond, a rail fanning hotspot where the double track lines of the York Sub cross over the northbound single tracks of the Bala Sub. This line is heavily used all day and all night by CN, GO Transit, and occasionally Via Rail when it is detoured. On a cloudy afternoon in spring, CN L516 with a C44-9WL leading and an equipment move behind it makes its way over the diamond. The action just doesn't stop. An ex-Illinois Central -9 with an SD70M-2 following behind it next. This is just a small portion of the daily trains that run through here. The CN York Subdivision gets its name from the district it runs through. York Region, situated in between Durham Region in the east and Peel Region in the west, is a fairly new area of development, therefore limiting the expansion of the York Sub. The MacMillan Yard is where the York Sub terminates, with the Halton Subdivision starting at Milepost 0 west outside of the MacMillan Yard. It's one of the busiest places on the whole CN system, seeing traffic like 397 to Gary, Indiana, 314 from Symington Yard to Mac, transfers to Oshawa. This yard sees traffic from all across the states and Canada. The yard is always busy, sorting out cars from inbound trains to be put on outbound trains, shoves in and out of the yard. This yard's got all the power from GP9s, slugs, modern Gevos, and the good old GP40s working around the clock to keep the railroad moving. Just east outside MacMillan Yard, the CN York Subdivision passes underneath the GO Transit Barrie line. This line is considered the CN Newmarket Subdivision, but just like the lower portion of the Bala Subdivision, it's run completely by GO Transit. This is not the only GO Transit line that CN passes over on the York Sub. Right at Milepost 14, the York Sub crosses over the GO Transit Stova line. The significant amount of traffic on the York Sub led to delays on the Barrie line backing up at the Snyder Diamond. This led to the creation of a new grade separated bridge to bypass the junction, allowing GO traffic to operate unhindered. Similarly, a grade separated bridge was built at Hagerman, where the Uxbridge Subdivision crosses the York Subdivision. This bridge opened for service in December 2008 and still operates till this day. For all the trains out of western provinces, including British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, they still use the York Subdivision to finish the final leg of their journey into Mac Yard or to continue onwards to the eastern provinces and the Maritimes. Trains such as CN 106 originate at the ports of Vancouver, British Columbia and terminate at Montreal, Quebec. Thus, they have to come south down the Bala Sub and take the East Y at Doncaster Diamond to head on eastbound. CN 106 makes an appearance on an early morning north of Quaker. CREX 3924 takes the lead with CN 3894 pushing as Ver DPU with its nose out. This was shot on the Bala Subdivision and not the York Sub, but trains such as 106 and its counterpart 105 still need to use the York Sub. Trains like CN 112 in this clip here take the West Y at Doncaster Diamond. This train originates at the Port of Vancouver and terminates at the Brampton Intermodal Terminal a couple miles west down the line from MacMillan Yard. If you enjoyed this episode on the CN York Subdivision, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and following my other social media linked in the description. This is Ontario Rail 12 and thank you all so much for watching.